Nathan Rivers stood behind the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office on the 40th floor, watching the morning traffic flow through Silicon Valley like digital data streams. At 35, he had built TechNova Solutions from a college dorm room idea into a billion-dollar artificial intelligence company. The glass walls of his office reflected his success back at him, but lately, those same walls felt more like barriers separating him from the real world below. His personal assistant, Emma Torres, sat at her desk just outside his office, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with the same precision she brought to everything she did. For 2.5 years, Emma had been the invisible force that kept Nathan's chaotic genius organized and productive. She anticipated his needs before he voiced them, solved problems before they became crises, and maintained a professional composure that never wavered. Nathan had always prided himself on being a fair employer. He paid competitive salaries, offered excellent benefits, and treated his employees with respect. What he had never done was look beyond the professional mask that Emma wore every day. She was simply the most efficient assistant he had ever worked with, and that was enough for him. The morning started like any other Tuesday. Emma arrived at exactly 8 o'clock, coffee ready, schedule organized, and a gentle reminder that his 10 o'clock meeting with Japanese investors required the quarterly projections he had been putting off. Nathan dove into his work, trusting that Emma would handle the dozens of small fires that threatened to distract him from the big picture. Around 10:30, Nathan noticed Emma step away from her desk toward the reception area near the elevator bank. She often took calls there when she needed privacy for personal matters, though in 2.5 years Nathan could count on one hand the number of personal calls he had witnessed. Emma kept her private life completely separate from work. Nathan was reviewing code architecture when Emma's voice drifted through the glass partition. Something in her tone made him look up from his screen. She was facing away from his office, one hand pressed against her ear, her body language tense in a way he had never seen before. "Luna, slow down. Can't understand you when you're crying," Emma said, her usually steady voice trembling slightly. Nathan found himself unable to focus on his work as he watched Emma's shoulders sag with each word she heard. "What do you mean collapsed? When did this happen?" Emma's voice rose with panic before she caught herself and lowered it again. Okay. Which hospital? Is Mom with you?" Nathan set down his tablet completely now, watching as Emma began pacing in the small reception area. Her free hand was clenched into a fist at her side, and even from his distance, he could see the tension radiating through her entire body. $47,000? Emma's voice cracked on the number. "Luna, where are we supposed to get $47,000? The insurance won't cover experimental treatments." Nathan felt something cold settle in his stomach as he began to understand the nature of the call. Emma's family was facing a medical crisis, and the financial reality was crushing them. He watched as Emma pressed her back against the wall, her eyes closed tight as if trying to hold herself together through sheer willpower. "No, Luna, you are not dropping out of Stanford. Do you hear me? We'll find another way." Emma's voice was firm now, despite the tears Nathan could see starting to fall. "I don't care what it takes. You're going to finish your degree, and we're going to get Mom the treatment she needs." Nathan realized he was eavesdropping on the most personal conversation Emma had ever had in his presence, but he couldn't look away. This was the woman who had organized his entire professional life with military precision, who had never missed a deadline or forgotten a detail, and she was falling apart 20 feet away from him. "I know Mom doesn't want us to worry about money, but this is different, Luna. This could save her life." Emma's voice broke completely on the last word. Nathan watched her slide down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, her professional composure finally cracking. "Listen to me carefully," Emma continued, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "I'm going to figure this out. I've been saving money, and I can pick up extra work on weekends. There are online freelancing jobs I can do at night. Or not going to let Mom give up because of money." Nathan found himself leaning forward, straining to hear every word. And all the time Emma had worked for him, she had never mentioned her family's financial struggles or her mother's health problems. She had simply shown up every day, perfectly professional and completely reliable, while carrying this enormous burden in silence. 47,000, Emma repeated quietly, as if saying the number again might somehow make it smaller. I need to research this treatment. If it really works, if it really could help Mom, then we have to find a way. I'll take out loans. I'll sell everything I own. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to. Nathan thought about the $47,000 Emma desperately needed. It was less than he spent on his car payments each year. It was a fraction of what he had paid for the art hanging in his office. It was a number so small in the context of his wealth that he barely noticed when similar amounts moved through his personal accounts. But for Emma, it represented an impossible mountain to climb. He watched her end the call and sit motionless on the reception floor for several minutes, gathering herself before she would have to return to her desk and pretend that her world hadn't just been shattered, when Emma finally stood up and walked back toward her desk. Nathan quickly looked down at his tablet, pretending to be absorbed in work. She sat down with the same graceful efficiency she always displayed, touched up her makeup with a small mirror, and resumed typing as if nothing had happened. Mr. Rivers, Emma's voice came through the intercom, steady and professional as always. Your 11 o'clock call with the Seattle team has been moved to 11:30. Would you like me to order lunch from the usual place? Nathan stared at the intercom button, marveling at Emma's ability to compartmentalize. Less than 5 minutes ago, she had been sobbing on the floor about her mother's life-threatening illness and a treatment they couldn't afford. Now she was asking about lunch as if it were any other Tuesday. That's fine, Emma, Nathan replied, his voice sounding strange to his own ears. The usual is good. For the rest of the morning, Nathan found himself stealing glances at Emma through the glass partition. He noticed things he had never paid attention to before. Her clothes were always impeccable, but now he could see they were carefully maintained, rather than frequently replaced. Her lunch was always simple and brought from home. She never participated in conversations about expensive restaurants or weekend trips that other employees enjoyed. Most importantly, he noticed the weight she carried in the quiet moments when she thought no one was watching, doing phone calls and emails. Emma's shoulders would sag slightly, and she would take deep breaths, as if steeling herself for the next task. How had he missed this for over 2 years? During his lunch break, Nathan found himself researching experimental cancer treatments. Instead of reviewing quarterly reports, he discovered that many promising therapies were not covered by standard insurance plans, leaving families to navigate impossible financial decisions while fighting for their loved one's life by the end of the day. Nathan had made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. As Emma prepared to leave the office, he called her into his workspace. Emma, do you have a minute before you go? She entered his office with the same professional composure she always maintained, but Nathan thought he could detect a fragility beneath the surface that he had been too blind to see before. Of course, Mr. Rivers. What do you need? Nathan looked at the woman who had been indispensable to his success, who had quietly carried her family's burdens, while ensuring his professional life ran smoothly. He realized he was about to cross a line between employer and employee, between professional courtesy and personal involvement. Emma, I want you to know that if you ever need anything at all, you can talk to me. It's not just about work, but about anything that might be affecting your life. Emma's carefully maintained composure flickered for just a moment, and Nathan caught a glimpse of the fear and exhaustion she had been hiding. But then her professional mask slipped back into place. Thank you, Mr. Rivers. That's very kind of you to say. Is there anything else you need before I leave? Nathan realized that Emma was not going to accept help easily. Her pride and professionalism were armor that protected her from being seen as anything other than completely capable. Breaking through that armor would require more than a simple offer of assistance. No, that's all for today. Have a good evening, Emma. As Emma gathered her things and left the office, Nathan remained at his desk long after the building had emptied. For the first time in years, his mind wasn't occupied with coding problems or business strategies. Instead, he was thinking about a $47,000 treatment that could save a life, and the woman who was willing to sacrifice everything to pay for it. Nathan Rivers had built his fortune by solving complex problems with elegant solutions. As he watched the city lights flicker on below his office windows, he began to formulate what might be the most important solution of his career. The challenge would not be finding the money, but finding a way to help Emma without destroying the dignity and independence that made her who she was. The next morning would bring new conversations, difficult decisions, and the beginning of a journey that would teach both of them the difference between professional success and personal fulfillment. But for now, Nathan sat in his glass-walled office, planning how to tear down the barriers that separated their two worlds. One careful step at a time, the next morning arrived gray and overcast, matching Nathan's restless mood. He had spent most of the night thinking about Emma's phone call, replaying her desperate words and wondering how he could help without overstepping boundaries. When he arrived at the office at 7:30, Emma was already at her desk, her usual professional demeanor intact. "Good morning, Mr. Rivers," Emma greeted him with her customary efficiency. "Your coffee is ready. I've moved your 9 o'clock meeting to accommodate the conference call with the Tokyo partners." Nathan studied her face carefully. There were subtle signs of exhaustion around her eyes, and her makeup seemed applied, with extra care to conceal what might have been a sleepless night, but her voice remained steady, her posture perfect. "Thank you, Emma. Before we start the day, could you come into my office for a moment?" Emma followed him in, her expression neutral but alert. Nathan had rehearsed this conversation in his mind dozens of times, but now that the moment had arrived, all his carefully planned words seemed inadequate. "Emma, I want to be direct with you about something. Yesterday I couldn't help but overhear your phone conversation in the reception area. I wasn't intentionally eavesdropping, but I heard enough to understand that your family is facing a serious medical situation." Emma's composure flickered, a flush creeping up her neck. "Mr. Rivers, I apologize if my personal call disrupted the workplace. It won't happen again." "That's not what I'm concerned about," Nathan said quickly. "I'm concerned about you. In 2.5 years of working together, you've never once brought personal problems to work, never asked for time off for emergencies, never given any indication that you were dealing with something this serious." Remained silent, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Nathan could see the internal struggle playing out across her features as she weighed her words. "What I heard yesterday made me realize how little I know about your life outside this office," Nathan continued. "And it made me wonder if there's anything I can do to help." "Mr. Rivers," Emma said carefully, "I appreciate your concern, but my personal situations are my responsibility to handle. I would never expect my employer to become involved in my family matters." Nathan had anticipated this response. Emma's professionalism was both her greatest strength and her most impenetrable defense. "What if I'm not speaking as your employer right now? What if I'm speaking as someone who cares about your well-being?" For a moment, Emma's carefully maintained facade cracked, and Nathan saw the fear and exhaustion she had been carrying alone. But then she straightened her shoulders, rebuilding her walls. "That's very kind of you to say, but some burdens are meant to be carried by family, not by workplace relationships, however positive they might be." Nathan realized he was approaching this wrong. Emma's pride wouldn't allow her to accept what she perceived as charity, and her professionalism wouldn't let her blur the lines between personal and professional life. He needed a different strategy. "Emma, you're right that we've maintained professional boundaries, and I respect that. But I want you to know that those boundaries don't prevent me from recognizing exceptional dedication when I see it. You've contributed significantly to TechNova's success over the past 2 years." Emma looked puzzled by the shift in conversation. "Thank you, Mr. Rivers. I've always tried to do my best work, which is why I've been considering expanding your role in the company," Nathan said, the idea forming as he spoke. "I've been thinking about creating a director of operations position, someone who would oversee administrative functions across all departments, coordinate with our international partners, and essentially serve as my right hand in strategic planning." Emma's eyes widened slightly. This was clearly not the direction she had expected the conversation to take. "The position would come with a substantial salary increase," Nathan continued, "about double your current compensation, plus equity options, and enhanced benefits, including a comprehensive health package that covers family members." "Mr. Rivers," Emma said slowly, "this is a very generous offer, but the timing feels suspicious. Are you creating this position because you learned about my personal situation?" Nathan had to admire her directness. Emma was too intelligent to be fooled by convenient coincidences, and her integrity wouldn't allow her to accept help disguised as professional advancement. "You're right to question the timing," Nathan admitted. Learning about your situation did prompt me to accelerate some decisions I'd been considering. But Emma, the truth is that this company has grown because of your contributions. You've been doing work far beyond your job description for months. This isn't charity. It's recognition of value you've already provided. Emma was quiet for a long moment, considering his words. Nathan could see her analytical mind working through the implications, weighing her need against her pride. If I were to accept this position, she said finally, it would be because I earned it through my work, not because you feel sorry for my circumstances. Agreed completely, Nathan said. Your personal situation simply made me realize I'd been taking your contributions for granted. Emma nodded slowly. I'll need time to think about this. Of course. But Emma, there's something else I want you to consider. Your sister Luna, you mentioned she's at Stanford? Emma's defenses went up immediately. Mr. Rivers, I thought we agreed that my personal life— Hear me out, Nathan interrupted gently. TechNova sponsors several internship programs at universities. We're always looking for talented students in technology and related fields. What's Luna studying? Biomedical engineering? Emma replied cautiously. Perfect. We're developing AI applications for medical diagnostics. Luna's background could be incredibly valuable for that project. If she's interested, we could offer her a paid internship that would help with her educational expenses. Emma stared at him. Nathan could see her struggling to process whether this was genuine opportunity or elaborate charity. You don't even know if she's qualified, Emma pointed out. Stanford biomedical engineering students are generally qualified, Nathan replied. And if she's anything like her sister, I'm confident in her abilities. Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. Nathan watched her face go pale as she read it. I'm sorry, Mr. Rivers. I need to take this call.
Oh.
Emma stepped out to the reception area, and Nathan found himself straining to hear again, though he tried to focus on his computer screen. Luna. What do you mean they moved up the timeline? Emma's voice was tight with stress. Tomorrow? But we haven't figured out the financial arrangements yet. Nathan's attention was fully captured now. Whatever medical situation Emma's family was facing, it was escalating rapidly. No, Luna, you cannot drop out of school to help pay for this. We'll find another way. Emma's voice was firm, despite the obvious panic beneath it. I'm going to drive. Up there tonight? We'll figure something out together. When Emma returned to the office, her professional composure was intact, but Nathan could see the storm beneath the surface. Hey, Mr. Rivers, I need to request emergency time off. I have a family situation that requires my immediate attention. Of course, Nathan said without hesitation. Take whatever time you need, but Emma, you don't have to handle this alone. Emma looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and wariness. What do you mean? I mean that if you're driving to Northern California tonight, you don't have to drive alone. I could give you a ride in the company jet. It would get you there faster and safer. Mr. Rivers, I can't accept it's not a gift, Nathan interrupted. It's a practical solution. The jet was going to sit unused anyway, and this way you'll arrive refreshed instead of exhausted from a 6-hour drive. Emma hesitated, clearly torn between her need to get to her family quickly and her reluctance to accept what felt like charity. Think of it this way, Nathan added. If you're going to be director of operations, you'll need to get comfortable with using company resources efficiently. This is just practice. Despite everything, Emma almost smiled. But you're not going to give up, are you? Not when it comes to people I care about, Nathan replied, and realized as he said it that the words were completely true. Somewhere in the past 24 hours, his feelings for Emma had evolved beyond professional respect into something deeper and more personal. Emma studied his face for a moment. Nathan wondered what she saw there. Whatever it was seemed to help her make her decision. All right, she said quietly. Accept your help get into my family. But Mr. Rivers, I want you to understand that I'm not comfortable with blurred boundaries. I need to know what this means for our working relationship. It means that our working relationship was built on mutual respect and trust, Nathan replied. And that foundation is strong enough to handle caring about each other as human beings. 2 hours later, Nathan found himself on a private jet to San Francisco. Sitting across from Emma as she stared out the window at the clouds below, She had changed from her business attire into jeans and a simple sweater, and without the armor of professional dress, she looked younger and more vulnerable. "You didn't have to come with me," Emma said quietly, not looking away from the window. "I know," Nathan replied. "But I wanted to." "Why?" The question was simple, but Nathan sensed it carried the weight of all Emma's confusion about his sudden involvement in her personal life. Nathan considered several diplomatic answers before settling on honesty. "Because I realized that I've spent the past 2.5 years thinking I knew you, but I only knew the professional version you show at work. I want to understand the whole person." Emma finally looked at him. "The whole person might disappoint you. My life isn't glamorous or exciting. It's family obligations and financial struggles and hard choices." "Emma, do you think your life is somehow less valuable because it includes challenges?" The question seemed to surprise her. "No, I just think it's very different from yours." "Different doesn't mean incompatible," Nathan said. "And facing challenges doesn't make someone less worthy of care and respect." They flew the rest of the way in comfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Nathan found himself wondering how many other employees he had worked with for years without truly seeing them as complete human beings. Emma was forcing him to confront the bubble of privilege he had lived in. And while the realization was uncomfortable, it was also oddly liberating. When they landed in San Francisco, Nathan rented a car and drove Emma to Stanford University Hospital, where her mother, Rosa Torres, was being prepped for emergency surgery. Nathan had intended to wait in the car, but Emma surprised him by asking him to come with her. "If you really want to understand my world," she said as they walked through the hospital corridors, "you should meet my family." Nathan's first impression of Luna Torres was that she was a younger version of Emma, with the same intelligent eyes and determined chin. But where Emma projected professional composure, Luna radiated the intense focus of someone pursuing a demanding academic program while carrying adult responsibilities. "Emma, thank God you're here," Luna said, embracing her sister tightly. "The doctors say Mom's condition has deteriorated faster than expected. They need to operate tonight. And the cost?" Emma asked quietly. $53,000 now, because of the emergency nature and additional procedures they'll need to perform. Nathan watched Emma's face as she processed this information. $6,000 more than the impossible sum she had been trying to figure out how to raise. "Luna, this is Nathan Rivers, my employer," Emma said, introducing him. "Mr. Rivers?" "My sister, Luna." Luna shook Nathan's hand politely, but he could see her curiosity about why Emma's boss had traveled with her to a family medical emergency. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Nathan asked, directing the question to both sisters. "Thank you, but this is our situation to handle," Luna replied. Echoing Emma's earlier words with remarkable similarity, Nathan was beginning to understand that pride and self-sufficiency ran deep in the Torres family. These were people who had learned to rely on themselves because they'd had to, and accepting help from outsiders didn't come easily. "I'm going to go see Mom before surgery," Emma said. "Mr. Rivers, you don't need to wait. I can find my own way back to the Bay Area. Emma, I'm not leaving you here to handle this alone." Something in his tone made both sisters look at him with new attention. Luna's expression shifted from polite wariness to curious assessment. "Mr. Rivers," Luna said carefully, "are you here as Emma's employer or as something else?" The directness of the question caught Nathan off guard. He looked at Emma, who was watching him with an unreadable expression. "I'm here as someone who cares about your sister's well-being," Nathan replied honestly, "both professional and personal." Luna nodded as if this confirmed something she had suspected. "Emma, you didn't tell me your boss was someone you cared about." "Luna," Emma said sharply, a warning in her voice. "It's okay," Nathan interjected. "Luna, I think your sister and I are still figuring out exactly what we mean to each other. What I know for certain is that Emma is the most remarkable person I've worked with, and she deserves to have people in her corner during difficult times." Before anyone could respond, a doctor approached them with an update on Rosa Torres' condition. As Nathan listened to the medical explanation and watched the sisters process the information, he realized that he had crossed an invisible line. Somewhere between San Francisco and this hospital corridor. He was no longer just Emma's employer trying to help an employee in crisis. He was a man who had discovered feelings he hadn't known he possessed. Watching a woman he cared about face the possibility of losing her mother because of money. He could provide without even noticing the expense. The question now was whether Emma would let him help, and whether they could navigate the complex emotions and practical complications that had suddenly emerged between them. As the doctor finished explaining the surgery timeline and left them alone with their impossible decisions, Nathan prepared to find out just how much Emma was willing to trust him with her heart as well as her professional life. The next few hours would test everything they thought they knew about each other and determine whether the connection growing between them was strong enough to bridge the gap between their very different worlds. The surgery lasted for hours. Nathan had never experienced time moving so slowly, watching Emma and Luna take turns pacing the sterile waiting room while he sat quietly in the corner, feeling both essential and intrusive. He had sent dozens of emails and made several business calls, but his attention remained fixed on the two women who had unknowingly changed his perspective on everything he thought mattered. When Dr. Patricia Wells finally emerged from the operating room, her scrubs were wrinkled and her expression was carefully neutral. Nathan felt his heart stop as he watched Emma and Luna stand up simultaneously, their faces reflecting identical mixtures of hope and terror. The surgery went well, Dr. Wells announced, and Nathan watched the tension drain from both sisters like air leaving a balloon. We were able to remove the primary tumor and address the complications that developed. Your mother is going to need several weeks of recovery and follow-up treatment, but the prognosis is very positive. Emma covered her face with her hands and started crying for the first time since Nathan had known her. Not the controlled tears he had witnessed during her phone call, but deep, relieved sobs that seemed to come from somewhere she had kept locked away for months. Without thinking, Nathan stepped forward and put his arms around her, and she collapsed against him as if her legs could no longer support the weight she had been carrying. Luna watched this interaction with keen interest, her analytical mind clearly processing the dynamics between her sister and Nathan. When Emma finally pulled back, wiping her eyes with embarrassment, Luna spoke up. "Mr. Rivers, can I speak with you privately for a moment?" Nathan followed Luna to a quiet alcove near the hospital cafeteria, leaving Emma to compose herself. Luna studied him with the same direct intelligence he recognized in Emma, but without the professional barriers that Emma maintained. "My sister doesn't let people take care of her," Luna said, without preamble. "She's been the one taking care of everyone else since our father died when I was 15. Watching her let you comfort her just now tells me something important." Nathan waited, unsure where this conversation was heading. "It tells me that she trusts you in a way she doesn't trust most people," Luna continued, "which means you have the power to hurt her more than anyone has in a very long time." The warning was clear, despite Luna's calm tone. Nathan appreciated her directness. "I don't want to hurt Emma," he said honestly, "but I'm also still figuring out what I do want. This situation has made me realize that my feelings for your sister go beyond professional respect." "She's been in love with you for over a year," Luna said matter-of-factly. "She's never said it directly, but I know my sister. She lights up when she talks about work in a way that has nothing to do with the actual job." Nathan felt something shift in his chest at Luna's words. "She's never given any indication that she sees me as anything other than her employer." "Of course not. Emma would never cross that line professionally. But more than that, she's convinced that someone like you could never seriously care about. Someone like her." Luna's expression softened slightly. "Our family has always lived paycheck to paycheck. Emma got her business degree through community college and night classes while working full-time. She's brilliant and hardworking. But she's also painfully aware of the difference between your world and ours." Nathan absorbed this information, understanding Emma's behavior over the past 2 days in a new light. "Luna, I need you to know that those differences don't matter to me. Not in the way Emma thinks they do." "Maybe not," Luna replied, "but they matter to her. If you're serious about pursuing something with my sister, you're going to need to prove that you see her as an equal, not a project or a charity case." Before Nathan could respond, Emma appeared around the corner, having composed herself enough to rejoin them. "What are you two talking about so seriously?" she asked, looking between Nathan and Luna with suspicion. "I was just telling Mr. Rivers." "About your academic achievements," Luna said smoothly. "He mentioned TechNova might have internship opportunities." Emma's expression tightened. "Luna, we talked about this. You're not taking charity." "It's not charity if I'm qualified and they need the help," Luna replied calmly. "Mr. Rivers, what exactly would this internship involve?" Nathan found himself caught between the sisters' differing perspectives on accepting help. He chose his words carefully. "We're developing AI diagnostic tools for medical applications. We need someone with biomedical engineering background to help us understand how doctors actually use diagnostic technology. The internship would involve real research and development work, not busy work." Luna's eyes lit up with genuine interest. "That sounds exactly like what I want to do after graduation." "Using technology to improve medical outcomes?" Emma said warningly. "Emma, this is my decision," Luna replied firmly. "If Mr. Rivers is offering real work experience in my field, I'm not going to turn it down because you're worried about appearances." Nathan watched the exchange, recognizing Emma's protective instincts, warring with Luna's independent spirit. Both sisters had inherited the same strength and pride, but Luna hadn't yet learned to see help as a threat to her autonomy. "Why don't we table this discussion for now?" Nathan suggested. "The priority right now is your mother's recovery. Everything else can wait." Over the next 3 days, Nathan found himself staying at a hotel near the hospital, officially to handle business remotely, but really because he couldn't bring himself to leave Emma alone to handle the aftermath of the surgery. He worked from the hospital cafeteria while Emma and Luna took shifts staying with their mother. And gradually he began to understand the dynamics of their family. Rosa Torres, she was awake and alert, proved to be a woman of remarkable dignity and wisdom. Despite her weakened condition, she assessed Nathan with the same intelligent directness as her daughters. "You're the boss who pays my Emma so well that she can support a family on one salary," Rosa said during one of Nathan's visits to her room. "Emma is worth every dollar I pay her, and more," Nathan replied honestly. Rosa smiled at this. "That's not what I asked you, young man. I asked if you're the boss who values my daughter appropriately." Nathan realized that Rosa's question cut to the heart of his relationship with Emma. For 2.5 years, he had valued Emma's work output without ever considering Emma herself as a complete person with needs, dreams, and struggles. "Mrs. Torres, I'm ashamed to admit that until this week, I valued Emma's contributions without truly seeing Emma herself. I'm trying to correct that mistake." Rosa nodded approvingly. "That's an honest answer. My daughter is special, Mr. Rivers. She sacrificed her own opportunities to make sure Luna could go to college, to make sure I could stay home when my arthritis got bad. She deserves someone who sees that specialness." "I'm beginning to understand just how special she is," Nathan replied. "Beginning to understand," Rosa repeated thoughtfully. "That suggests you want to learn more." Nathan met her eyes directly. "Yes, I do." On the 4th day, Dr. Wells cleared Rosa for discharge to continue recovering at home. The financial reality, however, remained daunting. Even with Nathan's offer of the director position for Emma and the internship for Luna, the immediate medical bills would strain their resources for years. That evening, Nathan made a decision that would either solve everything or destroy any possibility of a relationship with Emma. He contacted the hospital's billing department and paid Rosa's entire medical bill, including follow-up treatment costs, as an anonymous donation through TechNova's charitable foundation. He had hoped to keep this action private, but Luna discovered it the next morning when she went to discuss payment arrangements. "Nathan paid Mom's medical bills," Luna announced when she found Emma and Nathan in the hospital cafeteria. Emma went very still, her coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips. "What do you mean?" "The hospital says the entire balance has been paid by an anonymous donation from TechNova's charitable foundation," Luna explained, looking directly at Nathan. "Want to guess who authorized that donation?" Emma set down her coffee with deliberate care and turned to face Nathan. Her expression was unreadable, which somehow felt more dangerous than visible anger would have been. "Luna, could you give us some privacy?" Emma asked quietly. After Luna left, Emma continued staring at Nathan in silence for nearly a full minute. When she finally spoke, her voice was controlled, but trembling with suppressed emotion. "How could you do this to me?" The pain in her voice hit Nathan like a physical blow. "Emma, I was trying to help." "You were trying to control," Emma replied sharply. "You made a decision about my family's life, without consulting me, without considering how it would make me feel, without respecting my autonomy as an adult human being." Nathan realized with growing horror that he had made a catastrophic mistake. In his eagerness to solve Emma's problems, he had committed exactly the kind of paternalistic overreach that Emma had been afraid of. "From the beginning, Emma, I'm sorry. I didn't think about how it would affect your sense of independence. I just wanted to remove the financial stress so you could focus on your mother's recovery." "You wanted to fix me," Emma said, standing up from the table, "just like you fix business problems or code issues. You saw a problem in my life and you threw money at it, assuming that would make everything better." "That's not how I see you," Nathan protested. But even as he said it, he wondered if Emma was right. "Isn't it?" Emma asked. "Nathan, be honest with yourself. You've known me for 2.5 years as a competent professional. So then you learn I have personal struggles, and suddenly you're creating job positions, offering internships, and paying medical bills. What changed?" "My work performance certainly didn't improve." Nathan sat in the uncomfortable silence that followed, forced to examine his own motivations. Had his feelings for Emma developed organically, or were they rooted in a savior complex he didn't want to acknowledge? "I don't know," he admitted finally. "I thought I was responding to getting to know you as a complete person, but maybe you're right. I was just trying to fix problems because that's what I do." Emma's expression softened slightly at his honesty, but the hurt remained in her eyes. "Nathan, I care about you too, more than I should, more than is professional or practical. But I can't be with someone who sees me as a problem to be solved, rather than an equal to be respected." "Then teach me how to do better," Nathan said desperately. "Emma, I know I messed this up, but I want to learn. I want to understand how to care about you without trying to manage your life." Emma looked at him for a long moment, and Nathan could see her internal struggle. Part of her wanted to walk away and protect herself from further disappointment. But another part, the part that had been quietly loving him for over a year, wanted to believe that he could change. "If we're going to try this," Emma said slowly, "there need to be ground rules. First, you don't make decisions about my family without consulting me. Ever. Second, any professional opportunities for Luna or changes to my role get discussed openly, not presented as fait accompli. And third, you need to understand that I may never be comfortable in your social or professional circles. I'm not going to become someone I'm not to fit into your world." Nathan nodded quickly. "All of that sounds fair." "Bills I already paid?" Emma sighed heavily. "I can't undo that, and honestly, I'm grateful that the financial pressure is gone. But Nathan, if we're going to have any kind of relationship, I need to feel like an equal partner, not a recipient of your generosity. How do we do that when our financial situations are so different?" Emma considered this question seriously. "I think we start by finding ways to contribute to each other that aren't about money. I bring professional skills, emotional support, and different perspectives to your life. You bring stability, opportunities, and different experiences to mine. We focus on the exchange of value rather than the exchange of resources." Nathan felt a spark of hope at Emma's willingness to work through these issues rather than simply walking away. "Emma, I want you to know that my feelings for you have nothing to do with your financial situation. I'm attracted to your intelligence, your strength, your loyalty to your family, and your ability to handle impossible situations with grace. And I'm attracted to your ambition, your problem-solving abilities, your willingness to admit when you're wrong, and the way you've opened your heart to people you barely knew when it mattered," Emma replied. They looked at each other across the cafeteria table, both understanding that they were negotiating the terms of something, and that could become extraordinary if they could navigate the complications honestly. "So where do we go from here?" Nathan asked. Emma smiled for the first time since Luna's announcement about the medical bills. "We go slow. Figure out how to be equals in a relationship where we're not equals financially. We learn about each other's worlds without trying to change each other. We see if what we feel for each other is strong enough to build something lasting. Nathan reached across the table and took Emma's hand, marveling at how right it felt. Torres, would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow night? Not as employer and employee, but as two people who are interested in getting to know each other better. Yes, Emma replied, squeezing his hand. But I'm choosing the restaurant, and we're splitting the check. Nathan laughed, understanding that Emma's insistence on paying her own way was not about the money, but about establishing the foundation of respect and equality their relationship would need to survive. 6 months later, Emma Torres officially became Director of Operations at TechNova Solutions, a position she had earned through expanded responsibilities and exceptional performance. Luna Torres completed a successful summer internship that led to a job offer upon graduation. Rosa Torres made a full recovery and moved to a comfortable apartment near both her daughters, paid for with money Emma earned in her new role, and Nathan. Rivers learned that the most valuable acquisitions in life could not be purchased or managed, but had to be built carefully, with patience, respect, and genuine partnership. His relationship with Emma taught him that true success was measured not just in profits and growth, but in the connections that made all achievements meaningful. As they sat together in Emma's modest apartment one evening, planning their future, with the same careful attention they brought to business strategies, Nathan realized that falling in love with Emma had not just changed his personal life. It had changed his perspective on leadership, on success, and on what it meant to truly see and value the people who made his achievements possible. The voice behind the glass had led him to discover not just love, but a better version of himself. One capable of building something lasting with a woman who challenged him to grow beyond the confines of his privileged world, into something richer and more meaningful than he had ever imagined possible.